give it up for the kids, man. They've been wonderful. My wife calls me Joe. My daughters call me Dad or Daddy. And my students call me Mr. Stevens. So for this talk, you can call me Mr. Stevens. So I learned a tip about public speaking, and it's simple. Unite the crowd immediately. And so what we're going to do is going to be a little different, but it's going to be okay. So what we're going to do is take selfies. So grab a person next to you and take a selfie. Say hi to the person, even if you don't know them, it's going to be okay. So take a selfie. I was just shocked that it was 5 years ago that the Oscars did the picture, the selfie that would break the internet. It was 5 years ago. But as a teacher, I'm knowledgeable of all the trends. So later I might do an ice bucket challenge or a Harlem shake. And then someone was like, Mr. Stevens, man, those are years ago. I'm like, yeah, I know. So anyway, I'm here today because I had this quote in my head. It was like, how can I inspire my kids if I'm not doing anything inspiring? I was trying to think, who in the world said that? In fact, does anyone know? You said it. Well, you're close. It turns out it was my friend Chuck. This summer, for the first time since 1995, I went to my alma mater, The Ohio State University in Columbus, Ohio, and it was a different city. I used to have an apartment on High Street, the main street in Columbus, and the apartment is now Amazon Drop Center. And then the place where we saw bands is now a Target. And but I saw Chuck for the first time since 1995, and we looked at each other and we said, it feels like we took a time machine. So Chuck is one of these guys who is an artist. He was in bands, he loves bands, he loves art. And he was always saying, oh man, I'm never gonna get married, I'm gonna be the lone wolf. Well, when I got to Chuck, he was married and he had a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. And he was saying how, now wait a second, I'm not gonna change my love for art, my love for music, just because I have 2 young kids. And so Chuck inspired me. And so this past year, I wrote a book. And it was the first time that I was able to write a full-length book. I used to be a journalist, I'm an English teacher, and the process of writing the book made me realize a lot about creativity, and that's what I'm here to talk about. The book, by the way, the working title is Advice to My Future Son-in-Law, Navigating Marriage in the 21st Century. Pick a statistic to figure out why boys are struggling now. For the first time in our country's history, life expectancy has gone down amongst men. If you look at the prisons, 93% male. If you look at all the states, girls graduate from high school at a higher rate. So my contention in the book is that these problems with Generation Z, these problems with the millennials, they're going to serve us in marriage. So anyway, stay tuned for that. But about creativity, I learned a lot with putting in the work for a 60,000-word book. And what I really learned is that creativity isn't some magical bolt of lightning. It's a skill. Creativity is a skill that anyone can get better at. But also, what I learned is that it's connected to your role. There's creativity with me being a husband, there's creativity with me being a father, and creativity as a teacher. You can call me Mr. Steve. I urge the parents here to really define your roles. I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a teacher. But with a lot of my friends, they define themselves as work, 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 work. But is that really who you are? And I base that based on all the time they put in and our conversations. It's work. But I also challenge our students. I know a lot of students who see themselves as student, grade-driven student, and stressed out student obsessed with college admitted statistics. We all know UCLA is the most piped school. By the way, if you look close, those are some photos of me when I was young. My mom sent those in. Okay, let's move on. All right, so let me talk about my role as a husband as it relates to creativity. Here's my first fact. Status gets in the way. Oh my gosh, Whitney High School is a high school of status. It is one of the highest ranked high schools in the country. And sometimes I fear at Whitney and in society in general, we're here because of the status. We're not here because of the education, sometimes I wonder. We want the status. Turns out with my wife, oh man, she's beautiful. And I actually liked her status. She does these designer handbags and like these designer shoes. Turns out I like status, but beware, status gets in the way of creativity. Another point, boredom. We live in a world where no one wants to be bored. And I know this because if you're bored, a lot of people start looking at a phone. But boredom spurs creativity. The most creative people out there can turn boredom into beauty. I did something crazy the other day as a dad. I was like, girls, Sophie, Chloe, let's not look at any device for 2 whole hours. Chloe read a book. It was amazing. and then if you look up in the back, that was down the street of mine. Someone apparently took tusks from a palm tree, painted them, and put them where they fell. I was like, wow, that's creativity. Have you ever been bored with friends? Are you ever just sitting on a couch? Embrace boredom. It turns into creativity. When I was young, I knew that creativity was collaborative. And I knew enough to move to New York, wanting to be a writer. And I immediately met the famous writer, Kurt Vonnegut. And I was thinking, jackpot, this is going to be my meal ticket. He's going to be my mentor. I'm going to be the next best-selling author. Dude, I was not ready to write a book at 21, 22. It took me to my 40s. But Kurt Vonnegut was a kind, empathetic man who helped me. We also see over there my man Jet, like Madonna, Kanye, Oprah, one name, Jet. Jet taught me that as a teacher, you enact skills by collaborating and working with others. You're not just your own person on an island. You have to embrace others. Now let's talk about some myths. Oh boy. A lot of parents are going to say things like, you might want to study sculpture, but what do you do for a living? So one myth is that you can't get a job that involves creativity. And I'm walking proof that that's not the case. I'm so old, I worked in newspapers. My wife, who is there, was an actress. Of course, when she hit her 40s, there were no more roles for her. That's how it works in Hollywood. Google it. But I was able to teach at USC, do a lot of other things because of the creativity. And it turns out the irony is that in our new world, we need creativity. We're going to need more and more creative people. Another myth is that only certain people are creative. As a dad, I saw my girls do something really awesome recently. They're into this thing called K-pop. There's bands that are named BTS, which my mom calls BLT, and there's also Twice, and my favorite, Blackpink. So here's what my daughters are doing. They're seeing me read, they're seeing me write, so they're filming these elaborate videos of, Twice songs. Yes or yes. And I choose yes. And they're spectacular. Sophie, I gotta give her a shout out. She's editing these videos and I'm amazed. But the guy in the back is Wayne Coyne. He's the lead singer of the rock band The Flaming Lips. In around the year 2000, I used to work for the Long Beach Press Telegram. I could write about anything, that was great, And so I've always liked that band, and they were playing in LA, and I said, let me interview Wayne. We talked for at least an hour, and something hit me because of something he said. He's like, you're saying, to me, he was saying, you're saying that only creativity is for artists or for, people like me, musicians. That's not the case. Creativity is for everybody, and it takes creativity to land a jet when there's inclement weather. It takes creativity to figure out your taxes when you know you should be getting a bigger refund. Please don't send it to the IRS. It takes creativity to find a solution at work when no one else has one. Creativity is not just confined to the artists. Oh my gosh. I love that I'm here at Whitney High School because I'm sure you face what my students face at Cerritos High School. It's a devil called procrastination. I have studied procrastination, and this is my theory. You don't really want to do it. So we find time to do the things we want to do. But if I was being assigned stuff, it'd be hard for me to do it too. You really don't want to do it. And when it gets to like writing a book, honestly, in my 20s, I really didn't want to do it. But when I became older and I saw what our boys are facing now and how they are and how it's a system thing, not just a couple kids, I was like, I have to do this. So we all have time. I say chart it up. If you don't know that you have time, chart up your day and see where it goes. Also chart up your usage of the phone because we are on those things more than you realize. Once what I did is I charted everything I did in the day. I was shocked with how much sports I watched. I didn't know. My wife had been telling me for years, but okay, I watch a lot of sports. But anyway, chart it up. We do have time. I heard this quote, and it helped me, it inspired me. Action may not always bring happiness, but there is no happiness without action. You might say, yo man, is this like a cliche to call it action at a TED Talk? And I say, yes, and I'll tell you why. We need to take action. You need to take action. You need to do something. Do something. So if you're into code. If you're into DJing, make some fat beats. If you're into painting. And if you're into math, which I guess that's math, do it. The last thing I want to say is that I really appreciate seeing the students give their TED Talks today. It's been inspiring for me. And, I'm just a guy, so, and this is my truth, and I thank you for listening, but the main thing I want to say is this. To me, TED Talks are not just a celebration of ideas. It's a celebration of life, and I'm happy to have shared this with you. Thank you very much.